Hello and welcome to Candid Conversations. Today we're speaking with Carolyn Jones, a money coach. With over 25 years in the healthcare sector as a finance manager, Carolyn witnessed countless patients grappling with unexpected expenses and the stress of making ends meet. This led to her passion to equip people with tools and strategies they need to take control of their finances. Carolyn's goal is to empower people through financial literacy. She believes that everyone deserves the confidence that comes from mastering their finances. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you very much for being here with me today. Can you share your background and experience in financial literacy and what inspired you to become passionate about the importance of financial education?
Yes, of course. So thank you very much for having me on your show. It's always exciting for me to share my knowledge. So I'm honored to be a guest here. And really, to be honest with you, to get my excitement going, I have had 25 plus years in as a financial manager
Wow.
in the healthcare industry, which is slightly different than most people. And it was around maybe 2020 when I thought to myself, how can I use some of my knowledge to help other people? Because a lot of the time we found people coming into the institution that didn't have, weren't prepared for the expenses that they were faced with. And so, how could I help people improve their financial literacy by sharing my knowledge? And so that's kind of where my passion began. And since then, I have been coaching and have a graduate certificate in financial planning. And so it kind of just bloomed from there.
Fantastic. Thank you. And why do you think, in your opinion, is financial literacy crucial? And how can a lack of financial knowledge impact one's financial well-being and their professional life?
Well, so lack of knowledge in any area allows us to kind of rely on other facets that we're comfortable with. For
Mhm.
example, emotions, right? So when you have knowledge, sometimes we rely on our emotions to help make decisions for us. And that can pose a problem because, when you're highly emotional, whether it be happy or sad or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean you're making the correct, especially financial decision. It can also be based on past experiences. So, how you were raised, how you were brought up, the people around you, how they make decisions can kind of influence the way you treat your money as well.
Yes.
And then, having all of that, if you don't have the proper knowledge, what happens is you end up in this reactive situation, right? Something happens, you react, and you rely on what your comfort zone is to kind of help guide you through that situation. So the more knowledge you have, you can make more of an educated choice and decision when it
Mm.
comes to your finances.
Okay, fantastic. And do you see maybe people, um, so they've seen their parents maybe save money throughout their life, and then
Mhm.
do you feel that those children who have watched their parents save are better savers, or do you feel that it could be 50-50 really? So it could
Yeah, it can
go
really, it honestly can go either way, and it can depend on the age, right? So,
away.
young people that are like probably in their 20s and their 30s, they're trying to, find their way, right? They're
Yes.
trying to establish themselves as young adults. And so the practices of their parents probably are not exactly always taken, advantage of, right?
Yeah.
And then as they get a bit older, 30, 45, they're starting to say, oh, you know what? I do need to save more. And they remember some of the things
Mhm.
that their parents taught them along the way. And so it's important to kind of steer them in the correct direction because your spending spree when you're younger can have a major impact on you when you get a bit older. So,
Yes. And also the way
yeah.
your credit also has an
Oh,
effect on
credit
how.
is huge. Exactly. For
Oh.
sure.
And what effective strategies can adults, it doesn't matter if they're nannies or parents, can they implement to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle and build more of a secure financial future for themselves?
Yes, actually, I teach a five-step process.
Mhm.
So it's something It's very easily implementable. The first is really setting goals,
Mm.
right? Because if you don't really know where you're going, it's very difficult to create a plan to get there. And
Yes.
so the goal setting is very important. I use a strategy called using a SMART goal. It's very
Mhm.
common. A lot of people use it within business, but using it personally really makes your goal specific, time-based, and measurable. And so these are things that can kind of guide you along the way. You can measure whether or not you're at your halfway point, whether you're, have you had a setback? You can kind of get an idea how close you are to that goal. So setting the goal is really a strategic part of all of your financial literacy, because as you progress through life and you're moving towards something, it makes it, that's the excitement, right? You can actually see yourself getting there, whether that be buying your own home or traveling, or whatever your financial goal may be. You could kind of see yourself get there, and you're going to do the steps required to actually make it to that goal. So I say that is really the first step. The second step is really knowing where your money is going. So a lot of people, they'll tell me, I have no idea where my money goes. I just know I don't have anything at the end of the
Yes.
day. Right.
Yeah.
And so that is the key, really trying to figure out where your money is going. So, doing a little exercise like pulling up your bank statement, reviewing the transactions, understanding where you're spending, what categories are higher than others, really understanding where your money is going. Before you can make any changes, you have to understand what you're doing in the past, because a lot of it is habitual, right? So people will just go for their morning coffee. They'll spend the $5 to $10 sometimes, and they don't even realize it, right? And so their goals, maybe $200 a month out of their budget, and they're not even realizing it. So that is, I think, a very key step, is understanding where your money is going. And then the third thing is to really establish a budget. Now, a budget, a lot of times people don't like that word because it comes with, oh, it's restrictive. Oh, it's, I can't live my life the way I want to. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? A budget is really providing you with some direction, right? It's kind of telling you, okay, now I have my goals. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Let's create a plan to actually get there,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And so having a budget can be customized to that person's personality, how they spend money, what their goals are. There's so many ways to kind of customize it so that it's something that is easily, you can use it on a day-to-day basis. And it's not something you're going to throw out when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think people hear the word budget and they get scared.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because it's my favorite topic. So I don't know.
I know when I was much younger, my dad kept on saying you have to have a budget, you have to have a budget. And so it's kind of stuck in my head.
Yeah, it's an important tool that people shouldn't be afraid of. It's
Mhm.
just a matter of understanding what it is and how's it going to work for them. And that's really the next step, is implementing different tools, because everybody is not the same, right? We're not
Right.
the same. We don't have the same personalities. Some people love to track things, right? And so they like apps, spreadsheets, all the different things to be able to track everything and measure. And I'm a money person, so I'm right in line with that, right? But there's other people that are just like more of a free spirit. They don't want to be restricted by something like and having to write down every single thing and track it. And so there are budgets that kind of fit into each one of their personalities, right? And so I tell people, you don't have to be restricted to a particular app or a particular spreadsheet. If you love pen and paper, just do it on pen and paper. It really doesn't matter, as long as it's something that you can use on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah. And then the final thing is really
Yes.
just yeah, sorry,
No, that's
is
all
to
right.
uh, is to review and then adjust. So
Mm.
sometimes, life happens, things happen, you always want to be reviewing your situation. So even if it's like monthly, if you have a partner, you want to sit down and just kind of talk about your finances, where you want to go. Goals can change, right? Depending on the situation. Maybe you have children now, and so, your goals change. And so reviewing your situation, your financial position, and adjusting accordingly can really help to be an effective strategy as you move forward. So all of these steps, you kind of put them together in a package, and you're able to kind of break away from that paycheck to paycheck cycle.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for those great tips.
Mhm.
How do you think parents and nannies can work together to help teach children about financial literacy? Because when you look online, you don't see much about, children's books about finance. There are a few, but there aren't that many. So
Mhm.
do you have
Absolutely.
do you have any tools that you can share, or tips that you can share with us?
Yeah, you mean for children or for the parents or nannies themselves?
For the parents and the nannies to be able to share financial literacy information with the children so that it's not
I see.
such a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It can really happen during play. You
Mhm.
know, you can develop games where, I always take the game of Monopoly. Now, that's kind
Yeah.
of a complex game sometimes, right? But it doesn't have to be that complex. You can just say, we're going to use this and we're going to purchase this for this amount, and we're going to do a bartering and trading kind of system. Or, you kind of have a goal setting thing where you say, okay, what do you guys want to achieve? I want to buy, I don't know, a bicycle next, in the next 6 months. And so here we go. And this is how we're going to do all our research and find out all the different bikes that we like. And we start to like build a budget, a mini budget for them. So you got to make it fun. It has to be part of their play. It has to be something that is second nature. If you're going to say, let's sit down and talk about a budget, you're not going to get the kids' engagement, right?
No.
So it really has to be part of their play and the things that they like to do.
Fantastic. Thank you. And can you share some success stories where individuals through financial literacy have achieved greater financial stability and peace of mind? And how can others learn from these experiences to enhance their own financial well-being?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of clients that I have, we work through that process that I mentioned. And the biggest factor that you need to kind of consider is how can you avoid debt? Because once you get into debt, it is kind of a hard cycle to get out of.
Mm.
And so developing good practices ahead of time before you develop debt can really give you success. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients, they set up an emergency savings fund. Now, I always encourage this because life happens, right?
Yeah.
Things that you cannot predict, that your car breaks down, or, there's just something that will come up and require you to have a big chunk of money, which you don't have saved.
Yes.
And what will happen oftentimes is that people will just rely on their credit cards or debt to get them through that situation.
Mm.
And so there is no money being allocated to pay it off. And so you just kind of, that's where the debt begins and it grows from there. Right. And so, yeah, so basically, after you have that kind of a nest egg or a bundle to rely on, you don't have to rely on debt anymore, and you have such a peace of mind and ease of feeling. When something does come up, you have a savings that you can rely on that is there, that's going to help you and make you move forward. So that's I would say one of the biggest things that I think everybody should have. And the rule of thumb is technically 3 months of your income.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes that can be seem like a scary amount.
Mhm.
So I say, just start. That's all you need to do is just start putting away a percentage, into an account that's a little bit farther away for you to reach.
Mhm.
And so you're not doing the whole transferring back and
Yeah.
forth out of your savings, but it's there for you if you need it.
Okay. I was going to ask you what the rule of thumb was for the
Yes.
emergency, but you already
Yes.
shared that. Do you feel that people who, you know, get into debt then have, I mean, I know you've said it's really hard to get out of debt, but do you feel that people who are in debt and get out of debt then tend to fall back into debt? Or do you think that it was so hard to get out that they're so scared to to use the money?
The question really is have they changed their habits?
Mm.
So if they've changed their habits, then I would say yes, they are, they've kind of made it a right
Yes.
turn, and they're on a different path. Now, if they haven't, they just paid off the debt and they're saying, okay, now we're good to go, and they go back into the same cycle of doing the same things, then unfortunately, they're probably going to find themselves right back into debt again. So it's really about the habits of, examining what your expenses are, understanding your income and allocating it properly. These are the things that they need to learn so that they don't end up back in the debt again.
Thank you. And are there any specific financial challenges or opportunities that are unique to the nanny profession that nannies should be aware of? And how can they navigate these effectively with proper financial education?
Yeah, I would say that kind of monitor your income. So, you're having income coming in, which is fantastic, but it's just, don't treat it like it's just free money that, oh, now I have money I can spend,
Mhm.
right? Really take the time to plan your income out. What am I going to do with it? A very simple rule is the 50-30-20 rule, where you put 50% of your pay or your income towards your essentials, and
Mhm.
then 30% of your income would go towards discretionary spending, which is like groceries, gas, things like that. And then finally, 20% goes to either savings or debt. Depends on when, if you have debt, then you kind of allocate it that way. And so it's a very easy, basic way. Anytime money comes in, you know exactly what to do. You just divvy it out with the exact same percentage. And it can fluctuate based on your housing costs and different things. But you want to kind of make sure that that percentage is being allocated every time you receive some type of an income source. So that would be something that I would say to just try and get away from living that paycheck to paycheck life.
Yes. So 20% every time you get paid should go into your savings or emergency fund or something.
Exactly, exactly.
Right. Fantastic. Now,
Mhm.
if you had three tips to share with our listeners and viewers on financial literacy, what would they be? Something that you haven't already shared with us?
Yeah, let me think. I'll make it easy. I
Mm.
would say make it easy for yourself, right?
Yes.
Everybody, for the most part, has a telephone or a cell phone.
Mhm.
If tracking is something that and you're getting scared of a budgeting, just use your phone, the notes app in your phone, and start to whenever you get back to your car, you're ready, you're on transit after you spend something, just kind of note it down, right? And if you do that on a daily basis, at the end of the week, you can kind of take a look at it and you're saying, oh, this is what I'm spending more of this
Mm.
or that, right? You can answer some easy questions just by doing something that is very quick and simple to do. So I would say, yes, just make it easy. You don't want things that are too complicated. There are some apps out there that are even complicated for me. I don't even know how to use them, right? So I would say just try to make it as easy as possible. That's one of the major tips. And then the second thing is to, like I said, do that allocation, right? Make sure that your income is split out in a way that is comfortable, right? So when we talked about the 20% savings to savings or debt, if that's not comfortable, if your expenses are a bit higher, then you can adjust, right?
Yes.
Like I said, making that adjustment is so important that because every situation is different. I find that even seasonally, for example, summer is different than the winter. We tend to spend more money in the summer. Maybe we're traveling, our kids are
Mm.
off school. In the wintertime, they're more preoccupied. They may have other expenses like soccer and different things, right?
Yes.
And so, right, you just have to kind of adjust based on the season. So I say that would be another thing to kind of consider.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being here and sharing all this knowledge with us, and hope to see you soon. If our listeners and viewers want to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Absolutely. So, my company is called The Financial Moment, and I offer money coaching and courses. So, you can reach me on our website at thefinancialmoment.com or on Instagram, The Financial Moment, or on Facebook as well. Sometimes I show up on TikTok, but
Depends on the day.
You never know. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I do have, for your listeners, I do have something special. If they'd like to download my guide, it is just easy ways to budget. So you can get over that hump of feeling that it's overwhelming. And you just have to head to thefinancialmoment.com /budget dash tips.
And I'll link
And
it in the description so people can
yeah,
find it.
that would be great. And that would be helpful, I think, for you to grab those tips.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
No problem.